our biggest concept that we talk about in the project is that adversity doesn't define you, it refines you if you let it, right? It's kind of like what you guys say, be great or be nothing, right? That's our mantra, is that no matter what you're going through, I don't care if you're in the military or you're just a civilian or entrepreneur, whatever it is, whatever is happening in your life is meant for a reason. Embrace that adversity. Learn to become something better through that adversity and come out the other side a tool, a sharpened tool ready to do more damage and good in the world, right? So that's an oxymoron, but you guys get the point, right? Absolutely. Adversity doesn't define you, it refines you if you let it. And that's where the Forge Forward mentality comes in.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Bullpen. Today, I got something really special for you guys today. Something that's actually, really close to my heart. And, what this man represents, who you're about to hear from today, what he fights for is something that's so incredible, so needed today. I'm so grateful to have him on. Bric Simpson, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Bro, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege. Trust me.
Thanks, brother. So for those of you who don't know Bric Simpson, let me just kind of give you guys a little background, right? Bric Simpson is a military leader of over 20 years of experience. Bric has served several stateside mobilizations and overseas from 2005, 2006 in Ramadi, Iraq, which we were just talking about, which is when shit really hit the fan over there.
It was pretty wild that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to ask you more.
Ramadi.
I want to ask you a lot about that.
Cool.
Crazy
Yeah,
Ramadi.
absolutely.
With the 222nd filed artillery out of Utah. Bric is passionate about building community for veterans through gaming, and he believes there's a healing through gaming. He's an active community leader, entrepreneur, inventor, speaker, gamer, podcast host, and founder and CEO of the Forge Forward Project. The Forge Forward Project is strategically aligned with Complay Development. Is that what we're talking about? Complay? Yep. All right. Complay Development to bring virtual reality technology to the forefront in the fight against isolation and post-traumatic stress. Bric, this kind of summarizes just a little bit about you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But at the end of the day, man, this is just words on paper because this just kind of defines who you are.
Right.
But at the end of the day, serving in the military for decades, right? Serving our country, being a badass entrepreneur, I do, like what you've accomplished as an entrepreneur is incredible, right? But also with what you're doing with your new project with Forged and Fire, and all this stuff, everything you've been able to put together is so incredible. That doesn't come from anywhere. That just doesn't just happen, right?
Absolutely.
So what I really want to know, and I want to get into this, but what I really want to know, and I think what everyone really wants to understand is, what's your story? Like, what made you who you are? What made you want to be this kind of dude?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to even tell that because I don't get to very often.
Of course, I'm grateful to have you on.
Yeah, man, doing everything that I've done so far, it takes a team, and I got to shout out my team, Nathaniel Free, James Danzy, Brendan Barrowman, our guys at 2B3D, Josh Lujan. I mean, we have an incredible team that's doing things with the Forge Forward Project, and guys who have mentored me and helped me to understand some true potential and stuff like that as well, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to like talking about my story, dude, it's wild. So I'm gonna bring you back. So being a kid, I grew up in California until I was about 9 or 10 years old. Okay, I was one of two white kids in my entire neighborhood.
Where in California?
So Citrus Heights is where I was at. So it's just outside of Sacramento.
Okay.
And it was legit like ghetto, man. Like but we didn't know any better. We had no idea. I never, there's hot button topics about race and stuff like that now today, but I never felt different, man. No one ever singled me out and was like, hey, you're just a white boy, get out of here, right? Like I was part of that crew. And so we're talking skateboarding, we're talking rap music, we're talking, Michael Jackson in the early and late 80s was huge. So
who's that?
That's part of it, right? So that culture was big on me. And I had a crazy upbringing there. So my mother was actually the equivalent of a loan shark. Okay.
Oh, really?
As a kid. So we constantly had gang violence where I was at, constantly had nefarious people coming around. And I thought of it as just normal, right? Because it was just life. But my mom won't even really talk about it to this day. She won't tell me any details. But when we left California, we fled. So
really? Yeah,
man. I remember coming home from school. When I left that day, man, business was normal at home. When I came back from school, we're talking like 3:30 or something like that. all of our stuff was packed up for the most part. There's a few things left behind,
Sure.
and we were leaving. And I remember my mother stuffing cash into a teddy bear, like a pretty large teddy bear full of cash, right? Leaving it in the center of the room, and we dipped.
What?
So yeah, man. And the only thing she'll tell me is that she used to be the front man for cash for business, guys that were kind of into
maybe not good business.
Not good business. She was the cash person to go between that business and that person. So there was arm's length, right? So that's kind of where we started, man. And then, seeing that lifestyle, we moved to Utah, and it was a huge culture shock for me, like massive. Okay, I moved to
I think
a small
lot of
town.
people who come to Utah from like California or something is crazy.
It was
right?
huge, and so moving from there to Utah, I skateboarded. I had a dyed rat tail in the back. I mean, I was a little G, and I moved to Salina, which is a super small town. And I think there was like 600 people there when we moved in.
Jeez.
And so that was where my father was from and grew up and all that kind of stuff. So we came here. My parents were divorced, and then they got back together, and that's why we came to Utah.
Okay.
But it was like, thank God, man, because Utah basically set me on a whole different path. So grew up there, started to play sports, moved to Richfield. I learned a few things there. My first job that was really an official job, I worked for a guy milking cows, and then started to move into pasteurizing milk and stuff like that. And it was an incredible job. I learned so much about work ethic and all those kinds of things, right? But in my small town, man, the only two people that had money or drove a nice truck, they were either a farmer or a business owner. And I took note of that because my family had nothing. We were very poor.
And you were looking for the nicer trucks.
Man, that was it, right? like when you're a kid, you look at things and you don't understand like the big picture of life. But then that was what I noticed. So I took note as a kid and was like, okay, cool. But when we moved to Richfield, man, we were 2 weeks from like living in a tent, and it worked out. God's grace, we were able to get a home and all that kind of stuff.
You were actually living in a tent.
We were about 2 weeks from doing that.
Oh,
man.
wow. Okay.
So yeah, just crazy, times as a kid. And I think the biggest things I learned from my parents is what I didn't want in my life, right? So as I got older and realized that, hey, this isn't the way I want to live, I started thinking, okay, I've got to go to school. I got to go to school. I got to get a degree. I've got to figure this out for myself because I don't want this lifestyle. So when I started figuring out how expensive school was, the military became an option, right?
Okay. So
this is where this comes in. And the military, brother, is probably what really set me on my path to figure out who I am and what I wanted to be. Because I had no intentions of being a 23-year career military veteran and ongoing. I mean, I'm 39. I could stay in till I'm, 55 if I wanted to,
Right.
But anyway, so I joined the military, man. And I originally was like, Marines look cool. I want to do that. But I had a recruiter get a hold of me and say, dude, if you're looking to go to college, you got to join the Guard. So I said, well, tell me about that. What is the Guard? Join the Guard, man. And so started going to school, met, those guys that I was in the military with, I joined, and then about 12 of my buddies joined right after that because they're like, dude, if you can do it, we can do it. This is awesome. College is paid for. And so fast forward, joined the military, marry my high school sweetheart. I'm married, have 3 beautiful children. I have a almost 21-year-old son. So we started young. We had our first kid at 19.
Wow.
He's in the military too. He's full-time at the U right now, going to school. And then I have a 14-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. But fast forward, the military, about a year and a half into it, I realized, man, this is who I am. I was meant for this. I was meant to be in the military, meant to work hard, learning all these leadership skills, all that kind of stuff. And really, it was invaluable to me because that's part of our message with the project, man, is that the military puts out some of the most incredible leaders on the planet. Veterans are not a broken human sitting on the side of the road begging for money. They're portrayed that way sometimes, and yes, that is the case, but we are putting out some of the most capable people in the world through our organization, through the military in general. I don't care what branch it is. I mean, you take a guy that spent even 10 years in the military, their leadership training alone, it's unmatched. Yeah. And so it's our intention that we tell people like, hey, these guys should be leading the forefront, Well,
let me ask you this, right? Because this is something that I have thought about a lot when it comes to military, because the kind of people, it takes a certain dude or it takes a certain person to go start a business, to lead a company, to lead a team, to be put into a position of pressure.
Absolutely.
Right. And there's a lot of positions of pressure that are out there, or really just like there's a lot of people who've done a lot of great things in this life because they're willing to put themselves under a different kind of pressure,
right,
a different kind of responsibility. And I look at men and women in our military. You can't put more pressure on yourself.
I agree, man.
You really cannot.
Yep.
To risk your life, to serve your country, to put a lot of things off. Because one thing about the military, I have a lot of friends in the military. Some people actually work for Alpha Influence, are members of the military in the Marine Corps out in California. And one of the things they talk about over and over is how much it kind of sucks to have all these things on hold. Right? Damn near everything's on hold because you're giving your life to your country. You're giving your life to serve something bigger than you, right?
Absolutely, man.
But the amount of pressure they put themselves under, the physical strain, the leadership, the communication, and like we could go down the line of things of what you develop being a part of military, what you're almost forced to develop in being in that kind of circumstance. And I've always wondered, why don't we have more men and women from the military coming home and balling out in entrepreneurship and in making a difference, right? And I believe a lot of it has to do with because we have such a terrible way of bringing them back home.
I agree.
And actually getting them used to what's happening. I feel like that's it, but what do you think?
No, dude, you nailed it 100%. Like, that's also like, part of our thing with the project is really trying to tell others that we are capable, right? Mm-hmm. But you can spend 23 years in the military, and it takes, anywhere from 4.5 to 6 months on average just to train on how to be in the military.
Right.
It takes 2 weeks to leave. So that's part of the issue, man, is that we do not transition our military members out of the military the right way.
Right.
It's, hey, thanks for everything. We love you and good luck. Right.
Yeah.
And yes, these people they have some incredible skill sets, but they don't know the exact way to put those back into the community. And also part of that is when you serve the way you do and you're connected to people like that and you're in combat and you're in pressure situations all the time, the communication, all those things that you have to have down. When you leave, it feels pretty separating from the average person, right? And that's not a dig or anything like that, right?
True.
It's just we communicate differently.
Yeah.
Our humor is different.
Yeah.
The way that we operate daily on a day-to-day basis is completely different.
You're talking to people who have never had to been shot at before.
Right.
Never had to deal with a situation where, if I don't perform, someone on my team or myself could die.
Absolutely.
And that is a different kind of mentality.
Absolutely,
It's not to put down feelings, but it is the truth. You've become someone and you've grown into someone that can handle that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you come into civilian life and it's like, where's the acclimate? Like you have to acclimate to this.
Yeah,
it's
man.
like, what is this?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you've got, Joe over here or whoever, and they're complaining about the lunch wasn't warm enough at the office today. And you're like, brother, what are you even talking about? I mean, luxury of having even a hot shower, and things like that. I mean, I remember distinctly, man, coming home in 2006, and I was very impatient for just the normal day-to-day stuff. And, God is, I believe in Jesus Christ, and that's a huge, I got to say that, man, without any apology, because Jesus Christ was what really kind of brought me through all that stuff, right? And I think that it helped me not to have a real issue with PTSD either. But that was one thing, man, being super impatient. I remember being at Walmart and a lady's doing this was back when they used to do it, but the price matching and all the coupons, and it is taking forever. And the line is building up, and I was ready to snap, man.
Yeah.
This poor woman just trying to save her family some money, but I had zero patience for that because it wasn't important. Let's do what we're supposed to do and let's move on, right?
Yeah, right. Because you can't worry about the little shit. You have to just get the shit done.
You can't,
right?
Man.
Worrying about the little shit could cost someone their life.
We're goal oriented, right?
Yes.
And task oriented in the military. We got to do this, and this to achieve this goal. And so we hit those tasks as good and as fast as possible to achieve the outcome that we want. Right. And so that's how we roll, man. And so that's another big issue of transitioning back is the patience of sitting down as a veteran, because we got to take some ownership of this stuff too.
Right.
Like we have to take ownership of our own transition and say, look, I recognize I've got some issues, or I've got to, transition the right way. I'm going to go and get some help doing that. Yeah. And there needs to be more opportunities for that. And that's why the project, one of the reasons we exist, man.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest failures, I mean, I know with what you guys do, but I'll speak to this. Like I feel our government has completely failed our military in providing what's necessary for them to come home, right? Necessary for them to come home, get taken care of, get acclimated to the real world. And so it takes men like you to step up. And honestly, that's really what it is. Because at the end of the day, yes, the government has failed, but at the end of the day, I also think I don't fucking trust the government anyway, right? I don't trust them anyway. It's not, I don't care. I think entrepreneurs will do it better. I believe entrepreneurs are the ones who will change the world. I believe entrepreneurs run the world.
Yep.
Politicians, they're in and out in 4 years, maybe 8 years. Maybe they still stay a little longer in Senate and Congress. But here's something that I was told by a good friend of mine that has stuck with me. When was the last time you can think of meeting a politician who has changed your life or made a positive impact in your life? When was the last time you can actually think of a politician that actually had an impact on your life?
That's a good point, man.
I have not met one. I've not thought of one, and I'm only in my 20s, but I've asked this to, older men like you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I am the old dog, huh?
I've asked, and it's never been the case.
Yeah.
I don't believe politicians make a damn of a difference because they're so caught up in playing their own political games.
Right.
The people who make the difference are the entrepreneurs. And I wish, and that's what I'm so grateful for what you guys do. When I said at the beginning of this podcast, what you're doing is so near to my heart because I love our military. I love this country with all my heart. And the men and women who serve in our military to protect what we believe here, freedom, liberty, and justice, and what America stands for.
Absolutely.
And those kind of men and women coming home need to know you can be someone here.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And you should be someone here.
You should be.
All you have to do is just show them a couple things and take that exact same goal-oriented, task-oriented, disciplined mindset that they have and say, now take it here.
Right.
It's almost like you don't have to acclimate to everybody else. Stay up here. You have a different kind of mentality. Just create a network of people that actually kind of fit your values and go full bore on a new project.
100%, man.
Right? And obviously that's what you guys are doing. You have your project,
Absolutely, man. We're taking all of that and we're combining it in, and we're really focus driven on a few concepts we're trying to get through. But that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to connect with you, man, is because you have that opportunity in your back pocket to be able to show, hey, if you have a good idea or you have the drive and you have the focus and a team that you can put together, you've got a vehicle for them to get there.
Yeah. So,
and I hope to share more about what you're doing, with our following and our veterans, because they can plug right into your system.
Absolutely.
And immediately become an entrepreneur for themselves.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And with their focus and drive and leadership skills of leading a team, there's no doubt in my mind they can be successful plugging into a system like yours, right?
Well, I think a lot of military people struggle to be employees.
They do.
I think they would thrive a lot more in being entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or intrapreneurs.
Yes.
Just something where you're in the workspace of creating, growing, striving, pushing yourself. That's a lot different than getting a W-2 job.
There's
right?
a big difference between a regular Joe and then someone who reaches that leadership position in the military, right? So that's why I think we don't see a lot of those men and women come back here and start a business or whatever, is because we've been told what to do. Literally, we wake up at 04:30, right? You're going to do PT, you're going to eat chow, then we're going to go into training for the day. Then at 1700, you're going to eat chow and you're going to come back and we're going to do it all over again. You literally have your calendar set for months and years at a time. So it teaches that mentality of like, I could be a good employee or I would be a good employee.
Right.
So some of those guys and women come home and they plug right into a good system that someone already has a good system and pays them well.
Right.
And they're okay with that. And there's nothing wrong with that, man.
Right. Nothing at all.
But there are a lot of these men and women who should be coming home and plugging into a system like Jeremiah Evans and taking that to the next level and using those skill sets to create jobs, to create a marketplace, to put money back into our communities and all that kind of stuff. And that's what entrepreneurs do, man.
Yeah.
They are the backbone of society. And it's not necessarily big business. It's the small mom and pops and guys who go out there and hustle and get it done because they do provide that stuff. I have a company called Colonel King, and I invented popcorn lids.
See, I told you, invented popcorn lids. Like I told you guys, this is badass entrepreneur.
I mean, we've had our issues, man, and I've learned a lot. But
of course,
we invented a product, and I can tell you right now, there's nothing like having an idea in your brain, bringing it into a physical product, showing it to someone, they see value in it, and they give you money for that product. It's incredible. Okay, it's the American dream.
Right.
So but when I first started that company, then this transitions into what we were talking about before. I had to find a way to create the market for this, right? And so I'm a dude who's never had any real experience in entrepreneurship. I started a company called AdPro, which was very small stuff, just kind of did it on the side. I only ever got into business in the first place was to show my kids they could do whatever they want in life.
And to get the nice truck.
Right. Yes. Which, you know, we've had to give up a lot of that stuff with everything that's happened with COVID, man. It devastated us in this business, but we're coming back.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had to figure all this stuff out. So originally I had to make my product in China, which I hated, right? I didn't want to do that.
Right.
So what I did was I created the volume needed to bring the manufacturing back to Utah. So everything I do now is all manufactured in Utah. Everything in the project that we do, my Colonel King popcornlets have been manufactured in Utah since 2015. So, and we started in 12. So it took me 3 years to do that, but we did it, right? But that means something to me because even though I don't physically pay those people to make the product, my manufacturer does, I know it keeps them in a job and it keeps those guys in business. So that's why I do pay a lot more to make the product here, but I have great product. You know, my quality control is there. And if there's ever an issue, I can literally step into somebody's office and say, hey, let's fix this. Right. Yeah. I learned a huge lesson bringing in product from China, dude. A $60,000 lesson in a brand new startup company that we couldn't get that money back. And so it was a godsend to be able to move that product here too. But that's, you know, being able to provide that stuff as an entrepreneur is very fulfilling.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you this, right? 2005, 2006, Ramadi, Iraq. Anyone who doesn't know this, that's probably, if not definitely one of the, what do you say, shitstorms that we've ever seen in war, you know, and Ramadi, Iraq, like, known for being where a lot of crazy stuff happened. There, that was real war right there, right? Man. And you were there in the thick of it, right?
Yeah, and I would say real war in the sense of what the war on terror was.
Yes,
you know what I mean. It wasn't World War II,
right?
Trench fighting, that kind of stuff, but it was in the sense of the global war on terror.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of people, like, you know, we were just talking about before, Jocko, you know, Chris Kyle, the devil of Ramadi, right? And who were there at the time you were there. Right. Right.
Yep.
So tell us, what was that like?
Oh man. I'll be honest with you, man. That's probably one of the greatest years of my life. One of the greatest and one of the worst. Yeah.
Wow.
And I say
and
that.
That's so, wow. Sorry, go ahead. That's so interesting.
It is because I think you'll find like military members who really solidify and being a soldier and stuff like that. Combat is that ultimate experience to be able to test that, right? And combat does bring a lot of unfortunate situations. We lose men and women. They're injured, they're maimed, and so, you know, I don't say that lightly, but I learned a lot about me as an individual, about my team and people that I grew up with during that time. So that time period, 05, 06, that's what solidified me of saying, hey, I'm going to build a career in the military. Did it suck? Absolutely, man. I mean, I had a 3-year-old son when I left, and when I came back, he was 5. Wow. So our total deployment was 18 months, and a year of that was spent in Ramadi. But, you know, that was a crazy time, man. And I don't think, you know, being a 22-year-old kid is what I'll say at that time, and being an E5 and, you know, that's a brand new non-commissioned officer you're leading and stuff like that. It was eye-opening, man. And you learn, like I said, a lot about yourself, but it taught me so much about leadership and the fact that I can do hard things, right? Sure, and I can accomplish hard things. That's our family motto is hard work pays off. And so the military really is what I would tell you gave me all of my work ethic, you know, any skill set that I could profess that I have, it came from the military. Yeah. And so I'm so thankful for the opportunity to serve. And I don't know if you know this, but like less than 1% of the American population puts on a uniform.
Yeah, it's true.
That's wild, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's not because, you know, people can't do it or whatever. There's different opportunities out there, but the ones that do, I think ultimately will find great success, right? Yeah. If you jump in on every opportunity and you know, go to college and you use those benefits and then build that into an entrepreneur, you know, role or whatever it may be. But it's incredible to serve. But that 05, 06, man, I'm so thankful to be a part of the Triple Deuce and what we're able to accomplish. Like, I'm a regular warfighter. I'm no Jocko. I'm no Chris Kyle. By any means would I ever try to say, hey, look at me, I've done all this. But I, you know, at 22 years old, leading a gun truck and going into crazy places in Ramadi, I was willing to do all of that, and I would
Yeah.
do it again in a heartbeat, man.
Well, everyone I talk to is in the military. You don't like it's not a comparison of like
Right.
who does what. It's we all gave it all. Like
Absolutely.
we all had our
Yep.
neck on the line, and that's how it is, you know.
Bro, let's talk about that mindset.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you the very first night that we showed up in Ramadi, it's unnerving, dude. You're going into, like, we flew in on these little choppers and landed in Ramadi, and we go to these just tents. And so at the time I told you we were taking in a whole bunch of incoming rounds into the base, right?
How many were you saying you guys were taking?
So it was like 18 to 20 something a day that were coming in. A day.
18 to 20 rounds a day. And this
Yeah.
is not just like,
These are mortars and
these
rockets.
are mortars and
Yep.
rockets,
Yep.
like big booms.
Yeah. So it's unnerving, man. Like,
Yeah.
especially even though you feel like you're prepared for combat at that time, like to have that stuff actually happening, you get into a mindset, man, that you have to operate knowing that any moment could be your last.
Yeah.
And you have to be
You
okay
don't know
with
where
that.
that's going to land. You
No.
don't know how many are coming in.
You can't worry about it because
Wow.
if you do,
you're
if you
literally
worry,
living in a target.
absolutely, man.
my
You're
gosh,
a target-rich
yeah.
environment in a operating base, man, because you're just a bunch of dudes and women that are walking around trying to get business done, and those rounds are coming in. But yes, you operate in a way where you know, okay, any moment could be my last, and I've got to be okay with it. And I think most military members would tell you that's you have to reach that point or you cannot be effective. And that first night, man, I slept for about 30 seconds because of everything that was going on, and I realized real quick that I wasn't going to be effective for my team if I didn't just say, you know what, it is what it is.
Right.
God's in control, and I'm going to go do my job.
Yeah, because
So-
you doing your job is what allows everyone else to do their job. And them doing it's all
Absolutely.
interconnected web.
100%.
I mean, if you don't perform, you're a weak link in the chain,
Yep.
and that puts people's lives on the line,
Yep.
right? That puts everyone at
Yeah,
risk.
you're not dealing in capital. You're not
Right.
dealing in, equipment and stuff like that. You're dealing in lives.
Lives, yeah.
So that's why it's so important.
Well, here's why I really want to understand that, because that creates a lot. That could very well easily fuck someone up mentally, right?
Absolutely, man.
You know, knowing every time you go to sleep, knowing every time you wake up, you're waiting for mortars. You're honestly kind of anticipating it because
Right.
it's coming in 18 to 20 times a day. Obviously, I know you guys had a lot of success pushing that back.
Yep.
But even then, you're talking about still having them coming in on a regular basis because you're under attack
Yeah.
on a regular basis. That can change a man.
It does.
And it's changed a lot of men. A lot of men come home and they're not the same.
Right.
And this is what I really want to talk to you guys about, is because that you mentioned the project, right?
Yep.
That's what it's all about for you guys.
100%,
You've been
man.
through that with Ramadi, and you know what other men have been through. And when they come home, they don't acclimate the same, because whether what they've been through or not, they do not acclimate the same, and they need help. So tell us, what is the Forge Forward project? What is that?
Man, this is something, whoever your listeners are, guys, understand that me and my whole team are extremely passionate about what we're doing here. This is good. This is my life's project. This is my team's life's project. This is what we want to accomplish with. If I do nothing else besides raise respectful children, then this is what I hope to do. Is to do some good in this field. So the Forge Forward project, man, we started off with a concept and idea that, hey, we want to make a difference. We got to find a way to make a difference in military members' lives, and there's something missing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the statistic? How many military men who come home commit suicide every day?
Well, I mean, 22 a day.
22 a day.
Which, let me just give a caveat to that. You know, we had some really great awareness of 22 a day, right? Awareness isn't enough anymore.
No.
And I can't
I agree.
stress that
Yeah.
enough to your listeners, that awareness was great, and doing some social media and doing 22 push-ups. I love it, and we're thankful for it. But now is the time to actually start putting that awareness into action, and we have an opportunity to do that.
Tangible action. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And I'll tell you right now, the project is a real way to do some real good, and we believe that there's a potential cure for post-traumatic stress out there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And the stuff that we're doing and creating, it's never been done before. And so that's why it's so exciting as a nonprofit. I mean, that's a big deal. And so just being able to come on here and talk about this is huge for us. So thank you again. But so the project started off, man, just circling back, as we knew we wanted to do something and to help our military members. And it started off as, hey, let's get into some wilderness therapy stuff, and let's find some land. Let's start doing those kinds of things. And that's absolutely going to be a part of what we're doing.
Absolutely.
But I had some struggles, man, because I created a apparel line. We created a men's care body wash and men's care products. And the idea of creating those products was to help fund our own projects. So not just going to someone and saying, hey man, give me $20 and help us fund this. We were like, hey, buy some cool products and then we will push the proceeds into the nonprofit. So you get something and then we're able to move forward with the project, right? We didn't want to be just that. Like, hey, give us,
just take donations.
Yeah, just give, right? We wanted to give something back. Also, I believe this is a movement, man.
Yeah.
What we're trying to create here in the project is not just like, hey, we're going to help and check it out. We have a podcast. We have so many different things.
Which I was on. I love what you guys are doing. Yeah.
And thank you again. It was an incredible show. I can't wait to share that with our listeners, man. Yeah. But like, we're doing a lot. And so, but I have my struggles, man. It took, I started this thing in 2018 and I could not figure out why it was taking me so long to gain traction. And then all of a sudden I knew Nathaniel Free, good friend of mine in the military. We served for years together. We did different operations and stuff within the military stateside. And then he was like, hey, that's a good idea. Let me introduce you to this guy, James Danzy. And these guys, Free is our chief communications officer now in the project. And he's a part of another organization with what's called VRX. And we're going to get to that. Okay. James Danzy, who's our chief strategy officer, his job is to go out and make partnerships with people and talk about what we're doing. And he's doing a phenomenal job. These things start to roll. And then next thing you know, the guy who helped us develop those products with Dynamic Blending, shout out those guys. They're a Utah company as well, doing great things. He becomes our chief operations officer. So now things are starting to roll. The podcast is kicking off. Yeah. Everything is starting to come into place. And then the next step for us was VRX. So, dude, VRX is what's going to change the world of PTSD, especially in veterans' lives, but not only just veterans' lives, but I think in the entire world. So VRX, guys, VRX is the opportunity to get crisis management counseling and ultimately eventually therapy through virtual reality. And so in a nutshell, what we do is we raise money to get VR headsets into veterans' hands. And if you're ever feeling crisis, man, instead of having to call the VA or set up an appointment, wait weeks, potentially hours, whatever it is, you can jump onto a headset, be teleported to a beach and relax, get out of that situation. I mean, we talked about today where, if you can mitigate the 5 minutes where somebody decides they're going to commit suicide, there's potential to eradicate that thought process completely. Right. And so that's the hope, is that when they're feeling that stress and that, I'm going to do something, to hurt myself, they can jump in there, get in with a crisis management counselor and get the help that they need right now and mitigate that crisis so they can get someone who can help them. Right. Nobody's doing this. And virtual reality, I mean, there's so many different studies out there. The Office of Naval Research, I mean, there's over 25 years of research on virtual reality-based technology to help with post-traumatic stress, but nobody's capitalized on it yet. We don't understand why. And I don't know if it's because the military can't do it or they don't have the resources and the time, but we're doing it. And we're doing it ourselves at our own cost, our own expense, all that kind of stuff. But the Office of Naval Research found that post-traumatic stress responses to the brain were mitigated by 56 to 90% just by being in a virtual reality environment. So imagine coupling that with some real help. Okay. Now flip that on its head. One of the biggest things that's been missing out there when it comes to nonprofits helping people with post-traumatic stress is the long-term aftercare. And again, I don't dig any of these guys that are doing great things, because they are. They're doing great things to help veterans. But when you do a big event and you have a veteran there's this massive high, right? Sometimes that creates that massive low after the event is done, because it's really hard to stay in that aftercare process. But what we've done is we've created this where that VRX also becomes peer-to-peer. So if you're on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, and you and I want to get together and talk about just the BS that's going on in our lives, we can throw on our headsets, bro, and sit in our man cave or go to a Viking longhouse, chill out, have a beer in our comfort of our own home. But it looks like I'm sitting next to you and we're talking through whatever. And you and I have been to combat together and you understand exactly what is going on, right? So this is a massive opportunity to give long-term aftercare They are always connected to VRX and part of what we're doing just by putting on a headset.
Well, how excited were you when you saw the announcement that Facebook made of the metaverse and talking about the virtual reality that they're going to be pushing?
Bro.
Because to me, that probably could be the best thing that ever happened to what you guys are doing, because that's the future.
100%, man.
Is it not?
It is. If you look at billionaires out there today, I mean, there's so many people who are getting into this VR space because it is the future. You know, it's not, I'm not advocating that we should live our lives in a virtual reality, you know, game show.
Neither
or
am I.
whatever,
that's something I'm concerned about with this whole thing, is that people are going to take it way above beyond,
and they will,
and want to escape reality. And they will absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
We want to use it as a tool for good.
Absolutely.
Right? A tool for good so long term would be that we would have veterans come out, go through a wilderness therapy program, that they would graduate through different modalities of therapy that we could show them that they can implement in their lives at their house. So it doesn't have to be like walking into a doctor's office, but they graduate, they get a headset, and they stay connected to the Forge Forward project forever. Okay. So that's the idea of that, using it as a tool for good. Right. Yeah. But yes, because if you follow the money, man, I mean, Facebook came out with Oculus Quest, right?
Right.
They're on a version 2 with the Oculus Quest 2. They're just getting better and better and more affordable. And that right there was the biggest barrier to entry for most people, was that VR wasn't affordable.
Right.
It was so expensive for the average person to be able to jump in. But I'm telling you, you look at the educational piece of what this could be in schools. You know, schools don't have the budgets to go see the Museum of Ancient History. Now they can do it in a VR environment. It feels like they're there because, I mean, you've seen Mandalorian, right?
Yep.
Incredible show. All that stuff that they created, all the backgrounds and stuff, was created in Unreal Engine. And I believe it was Unreal Engine 4. Don't get me wrong. Don't quote me. But our VR space is going to be created in Unreal Engine 5. That's crazy.
Wow.
It's going to be so photorealistic that your brain won't be able to tell the difference. So meaning
that to me is both freaky and exciting.
It's freaking exciting. It's good for us because when you are in that situation and you are like, man, I'm feeling like I've got to escape this moment where I feel like I'm going to do something, right? And you're sitting on a beach and you're listening to the waves and you're kicked back and you're breathing, you know, just whatever, however breathing technique you want to put yourself through at the time. Right. There goes the stress. And now you're going to be connected with someone else shortly after that can walk you through that stuff too. So we believe that what we're doing through this is going to be incredible. There's a lot more going on as well. I don't know how much I can talk about with 2B3D. I mean, I'm going to give a shout out to those guys too. So we're creating a whole gallery for veterans, artists, that they can turn their art into NFTs. Okay, so non-fungible tokens, and that's huge right now. That's going gangbusters. There's lots of cool stuff. There's so many aspects to the project and what we're doing. We're talking creating crypto that's specific for nonprofits. I mean, there's so much going on, and we have so many good things that are happening that it feels good right now, man. But we believe in all of those things pointed back to the veteran and helping the veteran, you know, be successful, come out of this the other side and understand how to build a business, man. Connect with guys like you and say, hey, I'm ready to go. You know, I want to invest in myself and I want to take the next step and learn how to do what you guys do. Right. So you're a resource for us, man. And we hope for you to be, you know, I love what you guys do, to send people your way when they are in that position. But hopefully that kind of explains a lot of that stuff.
Well, no, I think it's incredible. I think what you guys are doing, I mean, number one, it's incredible what you're doing, but it's incredible also how you're doing it, right? Yeah. You're not just doing the typical stuff. You're being very innovative with what you're doing, right? And that's, I mean, I don't think anyone who listens to that says that's a bad idea. I think everyone says, yeah, that's a great fucking idea, right? That's exactly what needs to happen, right? The immediate care in those moments, the ability to be able to communicate with everybody, because you know what? One of the biggest problems military have, and really almost every person I've met has when they're struggling, is financially.
Right.
So one of the things you can't do is fly out to see your buddy. Right. It costs a lot, right?
Absolutely, man.
It's very time consuming. If one of the things you can't do is sometimes even, you know, like drive and pay for the doctor visit, right? Yeah. Those are, we could talk about the healthcare system and how, you know, fucked up that whole thing is, right? Man. But I think with this is going to be revolutionary in being able to like connect people at a moment's notice, right? I mean, you guys talk about gaming. I think it's going to be, you know, so much more than just gaming, because, you know, you can be on a game with your boys, but more importantly, you can escape from the moment of hell that you've created in your mind and realize that's just in my
100%.
mind. Breathe it through, through it with someone, because in reality, that's what PTSD is.
Right.
It's living in a moment that's in your mind, and you need to escape that,
stuck.
or you feel stuck.
Yep.
So you have to be able to escape that. Right?
Absolutely, man.
That's what this is all about.
Yep.
I love what you guys are doing. I think it's absolutely incredible. And brother, I cannot thank you more, so much for coming on. It's so incredible to hear what you guys are doing.
Jeremiah, this is a massive opportunity for us, man.
Well, I'm grateful,
because
man.
the biggest thing that we need, like being on your show, biggest thing we need is people to understand who we are and what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Because we need people to get behind it, right?
Yep, right.
And this is an opportunity for us to get that awareness out there and say, hey, if you're somebody who cares about veteran causes and wants to do something, this is a place where you can do it and you can feel good about that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we appreciate you letting us be here today, man.
Absolutely. Everyone listening to this, I want you guys all to make sure you go follow them on Instagram, Forged Forward Project. Again, we're going to link all this in the descriptions and down below in the video on YouTube and the podcast, everything. Make sure you guys can get in contact with these guys. Forged Forward Project, and as well, go to forgedforwardproject.org and make sure you go donate. Go, get some of their awesome merch, because I can personally attest it is actually pretty fucking dope.
Thanks, bro.
It's not just, some corny stuff, right? Not just the typical. It actually looks dope, and I love it, right?
That was the whole idea, is to create a lifestyle brand, right? Not
absolutely.
Just like, hey, the giveaway t-shirt,
right?
But something nice that people would love.
People will actually want to use, and that's the kind of quality that people need. And I love what you guys are doing. So go support them. Bric and your entire team, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Bro, can I leave your guys with one more thing?
Please, whatever you got for us.
So our biggest concept that we talk about in the project is that adversity doesn't define you, it refines you if you let it, right? It's kind of like what you guys say, be great or be nothing, right? That's our mantra, is that no matter what you're going through, I don't care if you're in the military or you're just a civilian or entrepreneur, whatever it is, whatever is happening in your life is meant for a reason. Embrace that adversity. Learn to become something better through that adversity and come out the other side a tool, a sharpened tool, ready to do more damage and good in the world, right? So that's oxymoron, but you guys get the point, right?
Absolutely.
Adversity doesn't define you, it refines you if you let it. And that's where the Forge Forward mentality comes from. So just want to leave you guys with that.
I
man.
love it, man. Thank you so much,
brother. Yeah, thank you.